Welcome to Fast Pace, the new growth, leadership and management podcast featuring Josh Phegan and Dean Mackie. We wanted to peel back the layers on what happens in the world of fast-paced real estate agencies, from new leadership models to the management challenges we all face each day. This is about a new era in the estate agency sector. Rapid changes to business models, service lines, remuneration and growth present the greatest opportunities that we've ever seen. Sit back, get inspired, grow your skills and reimagine what's possible with Fast Pace. Every Friday, wherever you get your podcasts, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts and Josh Phegan Digital. The secret to growing any business is to make sure that you've got great teams, and teams that really work are an important part of actually building and scaling. If you've got a lead salesperson who's writing great numbers, why wouldn't you add someone to their team so they can increase their level of capacity? If you're in a position that naturally you really want to grow your property management division, why wouldn't you add someone who can actually help in terms of that BDM role to really get growth, particularly out of archive landlords and even landlords' principal place of residence? Dean, this is a great conversation today in building great teams, finding the need for them and actually allowing people to get exposure to customers and what's actually going on inside of the business so you can really quickly scale them to be great inside of your business. Dean, you've learned a lot of things about growing teams. You've built hundreds of them. What are some of the important things to think about when you're growing a great team?
Thanks, Josh. It's an interesting topic. I think that teams is a tricky one. There's lots of ups and downs with teams. I think, we've had some pitfalls with some good teams and some great teams and some not so good teams. And I think it's a constant focus for any business owner and an important thing to know that you've got a strong team, because having a strong team is vital to your success, I guess, right? And all the evidence shows that if you've got a good team and they're engaged, then your performance is actually, it's at a much higher level than what if you didn't, right? So while I sort of get that, growing great teams has a significant benefit, it doesn't come without challenges, right? Because keeping everyone aligned and engaged on an ongoing basis in the ups and downs of a business cycle is not always easy, because people going through their own stuff and they fall in and out of love with things quickly. They have their own challenges. So, and at the end of the day, a lot of our agents in our businesses are there to drive income for themselves. And as a byproduct, we all share in the benefit of combined success. But the whole what's in it for me moment, sometimes people can act as individuals more than they can as part of a team. So in my experience, there's a sort of a list of things, Josh, that have helped. And by no means is it a panacea for everything, but I sort of feel that you've got to lay a foundation for a team to succeed, or for when people join your team, for them to have success. And I think it starts back with, and we've talked about it on previous episodes, around core values and mission. Or your vision, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that, it's really clear if you've got someone coming into a business or an organisation or an environment or a set of standards, if that person's not aligned to that vision and values, then that can have a significantly negative impact on a team. So I think if you get really clear firstly about your vision, so when you're recruiting someone or adding someone to your team, do they fit or don't they, that helps a lot. And then equally, if you have a shared vision and people are aligned with that, then it creates a sort of direction for the team to head. So I've learned over the years that, because often your vision and values are often growth and improvement orientated, people can buy into that and gives everyone a common sense of purpose. In fact, we've often involved our people and our team in developing that. So when we set out 3 years ago to redefine what our vision and values were, we got 50 leaders across the business to get involved at all levels and provide their input, and that was a really useful exercise. And then once you've got that, then that becomes who you are and what you identify with and those things. And then of course, because you're looking for diversity and different perspectives. That helps a lot. So it's not just coming from one party and one angle. And I think having that means that more people can identify with those vision and values because you've had an inclusive process.
So for a lot of people to break that down, it's like, where are we going? How are we going to get there? How do we need to behave in order to become the type of business we want to be?
Yeah.
And that's encapsulated through those values and really thinking about that mission, about what's actually important. Yeah. It's like, we need to make sure we've got some level of alignment here. But most importantly, that this is actually the behavior, because you're going to behave your way to success.
Spot on.
Like a sumo wrestler eats a lot every day, right? To remain competitive. But what do you need to do every day in your side of your business to remain competitive in your marketplace?
Yeah, spot on. Because if you know what and I guess what you've just touched on though is, if I sort of look at the foundations, the first part is obviously the vision and values and whatever, and then also getting everyone aligned and involved in developing business plans and strategic activities and stuff like that. But what you've just touched on is actually very important too, and that is, having clearly defined roles and responsibilities, because everyone knows what what their part is, and that each day if I come in and I do that bit, that I'm contributing both for my own success and what I get out of it, but I'm also contributing to something else. And those two things combined make a massive difference in my view. Even insofar as not only knowing what your responsibility as an individual to perform your role, but equally, we've gone off and developed team guidelines over the years that have been an inclusive process for how we communicate and behave with each other. And that in itself sets a cultural tone that enables team success, because that's underpinned by mutuality and collaboration and different things that are designed to help everybody achieve more. So as you start to develop a team, you've got the individual, and then how does the individual fit in with everybody else, and then how do we all work together to create something great?
And, that's that age-old story. It's like, let go to grow, get out of the way. Because often we see a lot of people that really restrict growth of people as well, because they're not really thinking about, hey, what could this person become, during the course of my team? I remember I had a staff member once say to me, hey, Josh, do you know that I've actually got more aspirations than just to run the marketing inside of the Josh Phegan business for the next 25 years? And I remember that. And I was like, oh, wow, that's really harsh. But what I learned is that what they're actually looking for is career progression and growth, and making sure that literally maybe there are certain job roles inside of your team which actually are for a couple of years. And maybe there are other job roles which are like a couple of decades if you wanted it to be. And so actually learning and understanding about how you actually facilitate the growth of your people is an important one when you're actually building a great team, that you're actually saying, hey, you know what, you're ready now. You can actually step up and do this level of work, and I actually don't have to do that anymore. And that letting go to grow is often one of the most difficult things for people to do, right?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, because, your role as a business leader, Josh, is to foster growth. And I think if you foster growth and collaboration at the same time, and you're aware of what everybody's goals are, then you can actually help each other achieve that success. If you haven't got that shared understanding, then at some point that individual's not going to match the team, or their aspirations won't. I mean, it's no different if you're playing in a sporting team, or someone moving through professional ranks. It's in a team-based sport. Everyone needs to understand their role, and everyone needs to know where they're trying to get to and how they need to improve. So the things that I've found also useful is making sure you've got some really good communication channels. There's also really great ways for people to give feedback, because constructive feedback is really important. Making sure that you're running regular team meetings, all those sorts of things to encourage communication amongst everyone in the team. And proactively listening to what people are saying can make a massive difference to how people collaborate and how they perform as a team.
I love that. In the Australian Army, apparently there's a sign, then the light shines on it at 4 a.m. every morning and says, remember, you joined us, we didn't join you. And it's pretty full on, right? Yeah. But it's like, okay, great. But Dean, in my business, what we love to do is we do a directions meeting at the start of every day, a couple of minutes, stand-up meeting, get a bit of an idea of what's on the plate, where we're at. I like a little quick check-in around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, just if there's anything we might need to get done before we get to close the business. And then I like to say, okay, great, at certain days of the week, there might be different things where we contextually need to really look at. So if you're in a sales environment, maybe Monday you're looking at all the buyers and the buyer hit list. On Tuesdays you might be really looking at potential sellers and market appraisals. And on Wednesday maybe you're doing a bit of a listing review. How are my listings currently going in market, and what do we need to do to make sure they get to sold? Really simple idea, sits inside of the calendar. When you have a quick look inside the calendar, hey, we get to Monday, that's what we do. Now, Dean, I know this is going to be hard, but I'm not always at my best. But you know what? When I'm at my best, though, I write those things out. So that naturally, when I'm not at my best, I can just quickly go to that list. It's just like, thinking about teaching systems, like forms and checklists and visuals and dialogues that people can actually use. And, the goal of a dialogue is to shorten the conversation and to increase conversion. The goal of a form, capture information in the right order. Goal of a checklist, make sure everything gets done. What does a diagram do? It's 1,000 words. Explain an important concept in a very short and sharp way. When you start thinking about teaching systems to grow a great team, are you actually going to build the systems first and then grow the people? Or are you actually going to have the people and then naturally start to work the systems together? And it's probably a hybrid of both, is it, to make that work?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, I think any of this discussion requires a bit of trust and a bit of faith, because, you're going to ask people to, as part of a team, and a successful team, you're probably going to challenge each other a little bit to grow. And it means that you're going to have to let go of certain things and try new things. So the change management part of having an ongoing high-performing team requires trust, accountability, and shared goals. And so, that requires there's a new term I've sort of heard in the last few years, psychological safety. It requires a bit of that. So a good team also requires a bit of psychological safety, and that can ebb and flow from time to time, depending upon what's going on. But, if you foster teamwork around, and in all the stuff you do, you have team building, say exercises, you set some collaborative goals, you celebrate successes together, potentially you might have some rewards around retreats or, whatever it is. and publicly recognise team achievements, then I think you get more of a buy-in to a team. And so we've found ways to do that over the years, and some of those things remain relevant over a longer term, and some are short term, depending on what your objectives are. But we've certainly started to, in the last few years, we've been running an event called Unlocked. In fact, in a couple of weeks, we're off to a day with the Sydney Swans. The entire business spends a day over with Sydney Swans. It's the first time they've done it. It'll be an amazing experience to say, what is it like to be a Swan for a day around preparing for pre-season and all those little 1%ers, and the team get to come together and do a whole range of activities together that, while it's not specifically real estate related, it builds a whole level of trust, camaraderie. People learn some skills, and so I look for ways, and whether that's going to be something we do forever. We've done it a few years now. Last year we did it with Sydney Kings, and we've done a number of other activities, but looking for a way in which you can get people to come together and form a team. In real estate, that's not always easy, especially as the team gets bigger. So, you've got to think about, how do you help the smaller teams really function and operate? How do you help bigger teams operate? And then how do you get a whole range of teams to come together and, function in a consistent way that helps everybody succeed?